Folks, it is pretty obvious across the country that a lot of housing markets are frankly a complete disaster. What do I mean by this? Inventory is up in some places over 100%. Transactions are down. And now it looks like the spring housing market has ended with a thud. Even the median prices are falling early. But you know what? Is King County, is Seattle different? Are they doing something different than the rest of the country, or are they just in the same bucket as everybody else? We're going to talk with the one and only Beth Traverso and get the update on Seattle. What's going on, Beth? What did May look like?
Good morning. So I was really curious to see what May brought because April was rough. And so May shows us what happened in April. So because it takes about 30 days from contract to closing. So as far as closed data, it takes about 30 days for that to show up. So I was expecting it to show up in the May numbers, which it did. And so, I'm sure we all remember in April, it was when the tariff news hit in early April that everything just got tipped upside down in my market. The stock market died.
It was peak. It was peak uncertainty. Again, I think the May numbers across the country are going to be somewhere between disaster and horrible. And it's because of that peak uncertainty. Again, even a market like King County is not insulated with their high price points and lots of wealth. People just sat on their hands. They were like, I'm not playing. This is too crazy. I don't know what's going on.
Right.
So the market's got to be just terrible.
If people feel uncertain, then they're not going to take action. Confused mind says no. Is that how that goes? So it's like they're going to say no, and so they come back to a certain degree, they have, but it's been very interesting going into June. We'll talk about that in a minute. But so usually in our market, we see for the closed prices, they peak around May. And this year I'm seeing that they peaked in April. So we had our March was going along pretty good. And then those ones closed in April. And then all this happened with the uncertainty. And then now we're down. So year over year right now for May, we're down 1.2% crash. I wouldn't say so, but a notable change for sure. Our inventory went from 1.8 months to 2.45 months. So that's a pretty big jump from just 1 month.
For
we
30
always
days,
in the Seattle area always have a lower inventory because new construction is highly restricted in our area. So that's the thing that I think differentiates our market from, say, some of the others like the Arizonas and the maybe, I don't know what, these other areas that I hear you talk about with Lance Lambert, et cetera, where like there's a lot of unlimited building in some areas and that's been building up, causing some inventory. That's not what's causing inventory here in our area. Sure, there's a little bit of new construction, but it's very small. It tends to be just the usual. I'm still seeing the same sellers, the ones who need to sell because of a job relocation, a divorce, a death, something of that nature. I'm not seeing the move up, especially now. It's like, why would a move up buyer seller do anything right now? They're just going to keep waiting, most of them, unless they have a severe sense of discomfort for things that are going on in their life that they just really need to make that change. Otherwise, it would make more sense just to stay put, keep their good interest rate, stay where they are, wait to see how things roll out.
Yeah, the move up buyers toast. The housing market is broken. It's been broken for 3 or 4 years. Not many people would be happy about a 200 or 300% increase in shelter. And that's what move up buyers are looking at for a bigger house, nicer house, newer house. The upgrade in price might be $100,000, but the payment difference is like 300%. It's crazy.
The delta between rental price for a typical home and then the mortgage is huge.
Yeah.
So that's something as well.
Yeah, I didn't come prepared for this, but I just did a show with Ken McElroy, and he actually closed that show by saying he thinks we might be heading to a renter nation because of this huge gap between ownership and rent. He's like, it just makes sense. So, he actually put it out there that we might see something in the high 50s, like 58, 59%. And folks, we have never been there in America. That would be bad. Yeah. I think that would be horrible if that happened.
That makes me sad to hear, but I'm also not surprised. Because it makes sense. I mean, we as housing providers want renters, right? But ultimately, I think I still believe that owning a home is a great way to wealth, especially if you're able to use it as a tool to house hack, etc. Like we're big fans of. So another factor that has been maybe a little more specific to our area is there were some tech layoffs, Microsoft notably. And on the east side of King County, where I am, we saw our inventory go up 100% in year over year.
Wow.
In May. And so all of King County, it was 50%, which is notable enough in itself. We've been creeping up for a while now, but then it really went up much higher on the east side. And it's not because more sellers are coming on the market. I mean, some are, but really what it was is the listings that came on the market were not moving.
Yeah, it's all about demand. That's what happens. That's what we're seeing across the country. I know a lot of people are pointing at inventory, and inventory is certainly coming. But if you really look at the numbers closely, like I do, the new listings are actually tracking below year-on-year numbers, which it's subtle. But what we've really seen is a complete collapse in demand. Hence, inventory is growing. But it is very interesting when you step back and look at that equation, because demand could be sparked by a couple of things: a sudden drop in interest rates, a sudden better like wealth effect in the stock market. Hello, we're at all-time, near all-time highs. I mean, there's lots of things that could spark demand, let alone less uncertainty, right? The whole reason that May is going to go down is a terrible month for real estate, probably across the country, is because uncertainty was the highest I had seen it in 30 years.
Wow.
That's why May was so bad. So again, as uncertainty clears, as a trade deal with China goes, as we get one with the EU and Canada and Mexico and so on and so forth, as we get a tax bill, as we get deregulation, it is, the thing that's going to be really interesting for me is if you have a shockingly strong fall. That's going to be wild for you and I to talk about in a couple of months.
I'm really curious to see how this plays out, because we do normally see a bump. So in the Pacific Northwest, we're known for our gray skies and the rain, et cetera, and it's been beautiful weather too. So that's another thing that's always, so we have the normal seasonality with all this other stuff on top. So the normal seasonality is that once we get past Mother's Day or so and the weather starts to improve, people just are already checked out and doing other things and going on vacation and planning end of year stuff with their family, and school year stuff. And so we've really seen that because it's been gorgeous and beautiful, sunny. People are out in vacation mode, and you have some uncertainty sprinkled in there, even though the stock market really has come back in most cases, that people's portfolios have recovered, but still just the sentiment around it maybe still feels uncertain. And the news media is really going hard on this buyer's market and a crash, et cetera, which I think is true in a lot of places potentially. But even with everything I'm saying, I'm not seeing huge declines here. I'm seeing a little bit. I am seeing more price reductions. I'm not going to sugarcoat that. And I am coaching my sellers right now that it's going to take longer to get their homes sold. Homes are selling. The buyers that are out there are buying, but the showing activity and open house activity is markedly down across the board. I've been talking to all of the agents. They're like, where are the buyers? They're just not even looking at the houses, and they're priced right and everything else. Some are doing price drops, some aren't. But what I am starting to see is that I'm seeing fewer homes now come on the market in the last week or two. We had a
exactly
bunch of them.
My point. Yes.
Yeah, we had a lot come on after Memorial Day. So people kind of took Memorial Day off and then listed their homes the following week. There was a ton of new listings. And then the week after that, last week, I didn't see barely any, because I like to go out and see all the new listings. Like, there's really not anything to really see this week.
Yeah.
And going forward, I think it's just going to continue like that. Fewer and fewer going on. And what is there is going to trickle off the market. It's going to be really sleepy over probably July, August. But then people are going to come back. Kids are going to get back in school. People are going to refocus, and there's going to be nothing for sale. And that might give us a bump in the fall, which we have seasonally seen.
Well, let's close out May. So what I've got from you thus far is active listings are up. Seattle, King County, 58%. Your area, the east side, over 100%. These are all year-on-year numbers. Median home price, again, peaked last month. In April, it is down 1 point. Let's call it 3% in May. What about transactions? What does transaction activity look like year-on-year?
Yeah, transactions are down too. So the closed sales are down 14.5%.
Yeah. So again,
which is
what we have
notable.
just seen, yeah,
Not
it's a drop
bottom
in
falling
demand.
out, but yeah.
No, it's a drop in demand. So
Mhm.
let's play this out. So again, you've been doing this for a while now in your area. You know the seasonality. So if May historically is peak pricing, what is trough pricing seasonally? What month is it? November? Is it September? When is trough?
It's around December or so,
Okay.
December, January. The ones that close in January tend to be the trough. But then that's
Okay. So
also the
it's
same month we see it revving up, and then it spikes in February,
got it.
typically.
So what?
A
So
little
if
bump in
if
the fall, and then it goes
okay.
way down, and then spikes back
So
up.
if we look at price seasonality, so what I'm trying to figure out for you on a price level, we'll get to the others in a minute, is price will be soft, meaning negative, probably the next couple of months. The question will be, is there that bump in the fall, right? And does it go back and then it'll be soft into the end of the year? Is that kind of seasonality for King
Yeah.
County? Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So
And the inventory dwindles down in December to next to nothing.
yeah. So let's talk inventory because again, everybody's looking at inventory. Your inventory is up 103%. King County's 58. That's shocking if you don't look at history. I actually think inventory is going to start telling us a different picture, and you've kind of alluded to it with last week's activity. I think new listings are not going to be coming for the next 6 to 8 weeks because sellers, they're also seeing the market get soft. They're like, why would I enter
Mm-hmm.
a market now? I'll just wait till next year, right? It's only 6 months
Yeah.
away, right? So I think what's going to surprise people is net new listings is going to slow, and we're already seeing it in the data. But here's the other one. We're going to find out really quick, Beth, how much wish pricing is in the active listings.
Yeah.
Because yes, as you indicated earlier, some people are taking price drops. Motivated seller, they want to sell.
Yeah.
I know for certain there is some non-zero number in your active listings that are sellers that have 2022 aspirations and they're not taking a penny less. Those ones are either going to bleed off because of new listing contract expiring, or they're just going to pull it off because they can't get along with their agent, right? No open houses, no activities. They're 100K overpriced or whatever it is. So that's also going to lower active listings. So here's my guess for you. 8 weeks from now, 6 to 8 weeks, I'm going to guess that active inventory is very close to peaking, and it's going to shock people because, again, the media has picked up on the narrative. Inventory is growing, and they're going to act like it's growing forever. I think sellers are already recognizing it, and they are going to A, not list, and B, take many off. What do you think?
Yeah, I'm already seeing it. So if sellers aren't getting any activity and they have a plan B that's compelling, like, hey, we'll just stay living here, or we're going to rent it out, or whatever their other plan is, maybe it's not the right time, and then they will just push pause and maybe resume. So, and in our area, a lot of the time they decide to resume is after New Year's. So
yeah, it's not that far away. I mean, if you're
no,
lived in your house for decades and you're like, okay, we got to live through one more winter before we go to Nashville or Texas or wherever you're going to go,
yeah,
it's like it's like it's a non-event. It's like, okay, we'll wait till next year at this point. So
yeah,
the other thing that's going to be interesting is transactions. And I kind of alluded to this earlier. Now Seattle normally has a bump, King County, as you've said. Most areas don't. A lot of the country is kind of peak transactions now, right? The May numbers, maybe June. And I think a lot of areas are going to see a bump because, it's not unreasonable to think either A, rates are slightly lower, certainly not higher, but also the margin, right? The margin is expanded between the 10-year and the 30-year.
yeah.
If we got to mortgage rates like 6.5, I think we already know. I think we know for certain demand comes flying back sub 6. We can go back and look at the last 3 times that happened. I think this pent-up demand, this uncertainty that I talked about and called correctly, I don't think it's with us in September, October. And I think a lot of people are going to go, you know what? I'm going to go now. It may not be the easiest. Our kids may have to transfer school or whatever, but it's the right decision for us because we don't want to wait till next year when all the competition comes back. What do you think?
Yeah, I think there is going to be some of that because a lot of these buyers that were going to buy in the spring and didn't, they're still out there.
Yeah,
The
they're
people
still
that have
there,
been
right?
sitting on their hands waiting for their stock portfolio to come back, waiting for whatever it is they're waiting for, at some point they're going to be like, okay, we just got to buy a house. Not
Yeah.
everybody. Some people are just going to keep on waiting, and then that's fine, but I do believe that if there was some more positive headlines coming out and rates tracking down, that's probably all that anyone needs to change that psychology, because it's really a psychological thing. And if they're feeling secure about their jobs, of course, if anyone's feeling insecure about their job, they're not going to
Yeah,
want
they're
to
not going.
make a move.
Amen.
But enough
Amen.
people are. And again, in our list, our inventory is up, but it still I wouldn't say it's necessarily high compared to other metropolitan areas, for sure, for our population. So I think
Yeah.
as we start to see fewer come on the market, as you mentioned, and more get canceled, and buyers are just going, I've already had some buyers reaching out to me like, we're still looking for a house and we can't find anything. What do you have coming up? Like, we just want to find a house and there's nothing to look
Yeah.
at. There still is that dynamic out there. There's certain areas and certain types of communities that maybe have a little bit of overflow. And it's interesting, those do tend to be the ones where there is some new construction flooding that market in these very isolated pockets that are really in buyers' favor. And those where buyers should just go for it on that, take your shot, right?
Take your shot. Yep. Yep.
Yeah.
Well, at the end of the day, folks, Beth and I would love to hear from you. What are you seeing in your market? If you're watching this because you're a real estate agent, real estate broker, maybe in the mortgage business, tell us what's going on in your buy box in your area. Because again, we're getting the insights about King County and Seattle from Beth. Love to hear from you across the country. If Beth, they wanted to get a referral to another top agent across the country, what do they do?
Yeah, easiest way to find me is just through my website. There's a contact me, bethtraversogroup.com, or you can Google me, and I'm in school as well. So
awesome. Beth, you're amazing. Take care. Have a great week.
Thank you. You too.